It's 10 p.m. in Banjul, and this is the news for the headlines. The new Minister of Planning and a team of experts conclude Phase 1 of a tour of major project sites under the purview of the newly created Planning Ministry. 7 communities in the North Bank region rejoice over the inauguration of various life-changing projects, including water and educational facilities under the CILIP project. Another attack on another city, the same result, the loss of many lives. Heavily armed militants attack a luxurious hotel in Ouagadougou, killing more than 24 people. And Taiwan elects the first female president of the Chinese-speaking world. Tsai Ing-wen of the pro-independence Democratic People or Progressive Party winning a decisive majority in the election. These and other stories coming ahead in this next half hour. I am your presenter, FATOUMATA JOBE. The Office of the President is pleased to inform the general public that Sunday, January 17, 2016, marks the 19th anniversary of the Herbal Treatment Program. His breakthrough of His Excellency Chair Professor Alagie Dr. Yahya A.J.J. Jammeh Babli Mansa, President of the Islamic Republic of the Gambia, through his alternative medical treatment programs. The event also coincides with the 1-year anniversary of the National Traditional Medicine Day. In celebrating the successes registered by His Excellency, the President's alternative medical treatment program, in treating several thousands of people, Gambians and non-Gambians, who have since taken their rightful places in society. The official celebration will take place on Sunday, 17 January 2016 at Kanilai. All are invited to attend and to adhere to the aforementioned time. Meanwhile, the Minister of Planning and Policy, Honorable Burama Sagnia, accompanied by a team of policy experts, have wrapped up a 5-day countrywide consultative tour with decentralized development structures in the provinces. The tour, as we hear in this report by H.N. Silva, was conceived to ensure these development structures understand their mandate as a ministry, created to coordinate all government's development projects.
It was his first ever nationwide tour as Minister of the newest and first ever Ministry of Planning and Policy. However, the week-long work trip was by no means an easy one. The tour was a multifaceted one, encompassing planning and policy-related issues. The goal of the exercise was to make all regional and central government institutions that dovetail under the Ministry of Planning to understand its mandate as a ministry created to give a new momentum to planning and policy in the government.
We started first consultative sessions with other development partners like the private sector, like the public enterprises. We scheduled to have similar ones with the NGOs and so on. But we thought that for development, since development beneficiaries, most of them are, live in the provinces, in the regions, it is better that before we settle down, we clearly define how our relationship with them would actually map out. What are the challenges they encounter, so that once we clearly, in the process of defining our mandates, we will know how to relate with them, what challenges they have, how they can contribute effectively to the national planning and development process.
The tour has also been used as a yardstick to examine concerns as well as recommendations of the respective development structures that are decentralized across the country, especially those who showed up at the meeting, so that their views will reflect on the upcoming national development document to be prepared by the Planning Ministry.
We can leverage on these structures, make sure that we are able to at least interact with them, support them to make sure that they are able to effectively carry out the work that they're doing, like the development of ward development plans as well as regional development plans, because these are supposed to feed into the national development plan so that collectively the priorities that are being reflected at the decentralized levels are adequately reflected in the national development plan.
The Planning Minister and his team of technicians kick off their journey with meetings at the North Bank's administrative town of Kerewan, Janjangbure in CRR, Passe in URR, and Mansakonko in Lower River region, where it culminated. Apparently, the message circulated was synonymous, likewise the reaction from hosts.
Key among the challenges is awareness creation. They lack capacity. These structures are on the ground, but they are not capacitized to be able to be functional.
The recommendation would just be in line with the approach that they have adopted. That is to make it an all-inclusive one. All the critical players and development has to be on board, and that is what they have rightly done.
At the last year's cabinet retreat in Kanilai, the President, His Excellency Sir Professor Dr. Alagie Jammeh Mansa, described accurate data collection and management as an indispensable tool for sustainable socio-economic development, whilst emphasizing the need to have a robust data system in all government institutions. Some 5 months on, the new planning minister, in collaboration with the Gambia Bureau of Statistics, seems to be working towards that direction.
Definitely collaborating with major statistical or data producers in the country. We do conduct what we call producer forums, where we communicate with them. We try to understand what the type of data they collect, the challenges that they encounter in collecting this data. And we have really come up with a project to support strengthening the capacity so that the data availability is enhanced in the country.
The tour availed respective grassroots development structures to unearth numerous challenges derailing their progresses, with suggestions to the solutions much to the expectation of the planning minister. The expectation is that Honorable Sanyang and delegation would act on these concerns as soon as they return to Banjul. Echan Silva, GRTS News.
Meanwhile, during his countrywide tour, the planning minister also took time to visit various projects in many parts of the country. The tour was in a bid to assess the state of these projects and also ways of improving conditions. Echan Silva again reports on that.
On the sideline of his nationwide multifaceted tour, the Minister of Planning and Policy, Burama Sanyang, and his team of policy think tanks toured the development sites in all regions countrywide. The delegation's first port of call was at the Evergreen Gambia Songhai Initiative project, where a critical mass of young Gambians are busy doing what they do best as they continue to replicate the Songhai Go Green initiative in agriculture. This center is home to a variety of crops, vegetables as well as livestock, very synonymous to that of Songhai in Benin. As soon as he touched down on the center, one Timothy Benyun, a facilitator at the center, was on hand to take Minister Sanyang and delegation on the conducted tour of the wide terrain. The Benin-born agriculturist told Honorable Burama Sanyang how hardworking the youths are. Timothy, who never doubted his students, also expressed confidence in them as people willing to implement similar mixed farming centers elsewhere on their own to contribute to the national food basket. From the Songhai Center in Cham, the minister's entourage drove some kilometers to the Nawek power plants in the bustling town of Farafenye for first information gathering on the 2.7 kilometer watts generator worth over $20 million. The generator electrifies most parts of the North Bank region and Lower River region. Minister Sanyang and delegation later proceeded to the cradle of the country's food security initiative in the Central River region, also for the same purpose. There, the minister went further inland to an agrarian community of Mairam in the south to assess ongoing field works at the rain-fed irrigation center, where the NEMO project is constructing a pond to trap water into the over 300 acres upland rice field.
So we decided for the NEMA approach, this current project, that all dikes will be constructed on contract basis and they have to be mechanical. Instead of building a small saline dikes, now we have to bring mechanical dikes, the structure we are seeing, so that it will last so many good years to come. Because these are art programs, these are art materials we put together. Over time, the weather, the rains will take its toll on it and then depreciate the height, the width of the dikes over time. But this significantly has increased the production itself this year, because what we have realized this year of this rain-fed rice fields can produce even 2 tons per hectare.
Honorable Sanyang's tour terminated at the Upper River Region's youth farm in Kundam, where he was amazed with the amount of efforts put together by the youths of the region. The area, which is also another manifestation of a mixed farming, is the livelihood of hundreds of URR youths. After crisscrossing the project sites countrywide, Honorable Sanyang weighed in on his impression on the visited sites.
Projects are normally a translation of government development intentions, which are normally crafted in our development plans and strategies. If, for instance, within the page or the forthcoming National Development Plan, there are project ideas, concretized, and so on. They are normally implemented or operationalized through projects. And therefore, if projects are not doing well, then it defeats the whole purpose of coming with these development plans. That is why the effective implementation of projects is very central to our ability to be able to measure the performance of our development plans.
Nonetheless, the minister has some observations on the number of improvements needed to give a facelift to each of the projects, as he registered his ministry's support to keep them on track. Echan Silva, GRTS News.
The Community-Based Infrastructure and Livelihood Improvement Project, or CILIP, has recently handed over solar panel boreholes, a seed store, and classroom blocks to 7 communities in the North Bank region. The project, which is demand-driven, is funded by the Islamic Development Bank and is meant to enhance the livelihood of beneficiary communities. Details in this report by Aisa Tuketa.
The mood was the same in all the communities visited, rejoicing with their beaming smiles and beautiful songs as they welcome a development they longed for. These solar-powered boreholes are under the Community-Based Infrastructure and Livelihood Improvement Project, a demand-driven project meant to enhance the livelihoods of communities based on their needs.
They have been selected from a group of other communities. We identified a criteria, and the communities were identified through a balancing system finally. So each of the communities, we went there, we trained them on how they identify their needs. They prioritize those needs, and they end up having 3 priority needs. We look at that priority needs and identified one priority that has to be taken as the first priority.
The total cost of these handed over facilities to the 7 communities amounts to over $5 million, with each community having $720,000. For a government's project that seeks to enhance the livelihoods of communities, community participation had become one of the main features in the drive to properly implement it. This was the exact work done by the village development committees in implementing the project in their various villages. Having the facility in place is one thing, but its proper usage and care is another, as project officials urge communities to take up sustainability measures for the proper utilization of the boreholes.
Train them to put up sustainability plans. And those sustainability plans, they introduce them. For example, with boreholes, they put something like user charges. People have different schemes. In some communities, they say one pan is this amount, or they will say this number of households. Each household will have to contribute this amount in a month, or this amount at the end of the year. Or some place, they even have a farm. They create a farm and they put all the resources and put it in there. That's one part of it. But the project also has a component on operation and maintenance. And we are leaving them with a balance of funds from their project that they will use as operation and maintenance. With this ideas, and they themselves knowing that this is our own project, this is what we identified, and this is what we want to have for our community, we highly believe that they will sustain, the projects will be sustained.
This is very valuable, and then you can see these people, water is their problem, and then they can only have water through the solar panel, and then the solar panel get it energy through the sunlight. The best thing is the maintenance of it is to make the panel clean at all time. That is the most important part of it.
Beneficiary communities, namely Kercherno, Kerchikam, Mamuda, Kersidiki in Upper Niumi, and Bambali, Palen Wolof and Basik in Sabah Sanjal, recounted the struggles they have encountered before the construction of the project. They expressed appreciation to the government of the Gambia through the project and promised to take ownership of the facilities.
We are very much happy in the sense that this has lifted a very heavy load on us, especially my community, because what we have realized right now, this project, the benefit, we enhance the livelihood of our people, especially the burden which is on the women's society.
These handed over facilities followed similar ones in other communities under the SILIP project, a project that has already phased out, but the expectation of a second phase is underway. It is hoped that with similar other projects of such magnitude will go a long way in improving the living conditions of communities in the Gambia. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Aissatou Keita.
When the government of the Gambia initiated the National Cleansing Day, it was meant to ensure communities take a central role in the exercise. Those efforts have been on show throughout. This was evident in the latest exercise when 2 ministers led officials and local volunteers to clean areas in the West Coast region and the Kahn municipality. Our Kumbaba went along and she part in this report.
In their drive to ensure a clean and healthy environment, the National Environment Agency, through the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, Water Resources, Parks and Wildlife, in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, donated cleansing materials to the community of Medina Salam in the Kombo South District. The 2 ministers have led a team of experts from their various ministries for an inspection of dump sites. The visit was anchored on addressing the issue of waste management in order to put a proper action plan to tackle this critical issue.
The community came out in their large numbers, particularly the women, and we are very appreciative of that. They also have an NGO here which is helping them from the school to health center.
The chief of Kombo South, Jammeh, Councillor Lamin Jammeh, and the National Assembly member for Kombo South, Abdukoli, all expressed appreciation to NEA through the ministries and partners, and also assured the materials donated will be used for the intended purpose. Elsewhere in Farato, efforts made to mobilize volunteers was led by the Alcalo. Their focus was on the community. The Dipakunda dump site was the last port of call for the officials, where both ministers stressed the need for proper waste management and efforts to ensure a healthy environment free from diseases. This donation of cleansing materials symbolizes the commitment of the 2 ministries and their line departments, as well as partners in ensuring a healthy and clean nation. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Kumbaba.
We will be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The government of Burkina Faso says its special forces have killed 4 Islamists and 2 Al-Qaedas. This after they stormed 2 hotels and a restaurant in the capital of Ouagadougou. The gunmen left at least 23 people dead, but dozens of hostages were freed. The attack marked a major escalation in the Islamist militant activities in West Africa. We have more in this report.
It's the end of a harrowing ordeal. These hostages were able to leave the splendid hotel for the first time this morning. They were brought to safety at a nearby ministry. Shortly after, newly elected President Roch-Marc Kabore paid a visit. The situation still remains unclear. Soon we will have the opportunity to make a full assessment. We are appealing to the people to be vigilant and brave at the same time. We must fight on and take into account the actions of terrorists in our daily fight for the development of our country. Security forces are continuing their search for militants, 4 of whom were killed during the siege. Eyewitnesses say at least a dozen jihadists carried out the attacks. Several are reportedly still at large. The assault began overnight when attackers stormed a cafe. They opened fire on customers and ignited a blaze. Special forces battled them for hours. Survivors described a chaotic scene. As the smoke cleared a little, my little sister and I broke a window and climbed out. We were able to run out onto the terrace and take cover under a nearby vehicle. The car right behind it had caught fire. We had to lie under the vehicle for about a half hour and then crawled under additional vehicles to get to safety. The attackers then entered a neighboring hotel, rigging it with explosives. French troops aided security forces as they fought to take the hotel back from the jihadists. Burkina Faso had been regarded as relatively safe